Morning. Tang San woke up early as usual. Practicing the purple demon eyes had become a daily routine for him. Moreover, there were several important tasks he needed to attend to this morning. Stepping out of his and Oscar's dormitory, the sky outside was still dark. After a night's rest, Tang San's internal energy had recovered, and following Oscar's instructions, he quickly arrived at the open space where Zhao Wuji had tested them yesterday, gathering his hidden weapons. These hidden weapons were not easy to craft, and Tang San couldn't bear to easily discard them. Especially the crossbow bolt with the hidden weapon sleeve and the dart shot with shadowy needles. Crafting them had required considerable effort and time. Fortunately, most of the hidden weapons he used yesterday were still intact. Relying on the keen perception of his purple demon eyes, he quickly located them and returned them to their respective positions. During his years in Nodding City, Tang San had already fully armed himself, and yesterday's battle with Zhao Wuji was the first time he had fully utilized his hidden weapon skills. As he picked up the hidden weapons, Tang San pondered the gains and losses of yesterday's battle. Zhao Wuji's defensive power was simply astonishing. Fortunately, his speed wasn't fast, and he hadn't used his full strength. Otherwise, Tang San wouldn't have had any chance at all. How should he deal with such a strong opponent? What methods could he use to win if he faced such an enemy again in the future? Various thoughts flashed through Tang San's mind. He understood that his proficiency in hidden weapons was not yet pure enough, and these were not improvements that could be achieved overnight. Almost all the top-ranked hidden weapons in the 100 skills of hidden weapons required strong internal energy as a backing. If he wanted to deal with opponents like Zhao Wuji with his current strength, there was only one way: to create powerful machinery-type hidden weapons. For example, the three most terrifying machinery-type hidden weapons of the Tang sect: the Buddha Fury Tang Lotus, the Torrential Pear Blossom Needle, and the Peacock Plume. However, crafting these three hidden weapons was extremely difficult, with stringent requirements for materials. Under current conditions, it was simply impossible to create them. Moreover, although Tang San had previously crafted all three of these hidden weapons and had gained a lot of experience, starting anew would still require at least a year of time, assuming smooth material procurement. Sighing, Tang San shook his head helplessly. Given his current situation, manufacturing these three types of hidden weapons was equally unrealistic. It seemed that he could only focus on practicing and gradually improving the strength of his hidden weapons. At the same time, he also needed to better arm himself. When the opportunity arose, he should first acquire some poisons. However, the venom of the mandala snake was too singular. After collecting all the hidden weapons, Tang San jumped onto the roof of a house and began practicing facing the gradually rising purple energy in the east. Pressure was also a driving force. After yesterday's battle, he already faintly felt that his soul power was on the verge of breaking through to the 30th rank. As long as he could enter the 30th rank, after a certain period of practice to fill his soul power to the brim, he could go hunt the third spirit beast and increase his soul ring count by 1. By then, his strength would experience a qualitative leap. When the sun rose, Tang San returned to the dormitory. At this time, Oscar was still deeply asleep, snoring with his blanket in his arms. When Tang San woke him up to ask about the low point of the test yesterday, Oscar even drooled in his sleep. Oscar, wake up," Tang San nudged Oscar. What's up?" "Let me sleep a little longer," Oscar muttered. Tang San furrowed his brows. Come on, it's not early anymore. Don't you know that the early bird catches the worm?" Oscar looked at Tang San with some helplessness as he opened his eyes. I'm not like you guys. You are soul masters. I'm a soul engineer, and a food system at that. I don't need to bother with cultivation like you. Big brother, please don't disturb me and let me sleep a little longer." Well then, first tell me where Xiao Wu lives. I want to see if she's feeling better," Tang San said. Oscar replied, Go out of our dormitory and turn left, about 30 meters. There's a wooden house over there. That's where Xiao Wu and Ning Rongrong live. But, I have to remind you. The academy has clear rules that male students cannot harass female students. Otherwise, the school rules are very strict. Our Shrek Academy occupies 1/3 of the area in this village, and the other side is where the villagers live. Try not to go there usually. Indeed, Shrek Academy didn't have much money. The entire academy was simply constructed by renting 1/3 of the area of this village. The so-called school buildings were just the wooden houses of the former villagers. Fortunately, it was relatively close to Soto City, so buying things was relatively convenient. After some hesitation, Tang San decided not to enter the dormitory directly. It would be fine if it was just Xiao Wu, as they had lived in the same dormitory for so long and were like siblings. But having another girl there made it somewhat inconvenient. After a brief pause, Tang San lightly called out, Xiao Wu, Xiao Wu." Not waiting for long, the door opened, and Xiao Wu walked out from inside. She was still wearing the same clothes as yesterday, except that her complexion was slightly pale, but otherwise, she seemed fine. Seeing her appearance, Tang San breathed a sigh of relief. Xiao Wu, are you feeling better?" Xiao Wu gestured for him to keep quiet with a finger to her lips. Rong Rong is still meditating. Don't disturb her. Let's talk over there. Tang San couldn't pinpoint why, but he felt that Xiao Wu's eyes seemed somewhat different today. Where exactly the change had occurred, he couldn't say. It turns out that Xiao Wu had already woken up from her coma in the middle of the night, and Ning Rongrong, fearing something might happen to her, had been guarding her side. When Xiao Wu woke up, Ning Rongrong told her everything that had happened afterwards. Tang San rubbed Xiao Wu's head and said, "It was my fault yesterday for not protecting you." Xiao Wu shook her head and stuck out her cute pink tongue. That teacher was just too powerful. How can I blame you? It's different here from Notting. It seems like everyone is very strong. Fortunately, there wasn't a title Dolua level expert around. Tang San curiously asked, how do you know there are no title Dolua level soul masters in the academy? Zhao teacher is just a vice principal. Perhaps the principal is a title Dolua. Xiao Wu hesitated for a moment, then concealed her thoughts. I was just guessing. After all, how could a title Dolua appear in such a small and peaceful place? Tang San didn't doubt her, nor did he inquire further. He held Xiao Wu's soft hand and said, let's go find something to eat. I'm sure you're hungry too. Okay, I'm hungry too. Xiao Wu nodded. By now, she had returned to her lively self, willingly linking her arm with Tang San's. As newcomers who had both been unconscious due to yesterday's battle, they knew nothing about Shrek Academy. Helplessly, they could only look for places with smoke rising from chimneys and try to find somewhere with food. The village wasn't large. As they walked, they unknowingly walked out of the area of Shrek Academy. Shrek Academy's side was quiet, but the villagers on the other side had already begun bustling about, working from sunrise, as was the habit of ordinary farmers. They needed to farm to support their families. Tang San had decided to first buy some food for himself and Xiao Wu in the village, since he didn't know where the academy's breakfast was. As the two were about to find a farmhouse to buy food from, they saw a boy and a girl not far ahead quarreling. The young boy and girl didn't seem very old. The girl appeared to be about 14 or 15 years old, with an ordinary appearance but full of youthful vigor. She wore simple farmhouse clothes and should be a child of the villagers. The young boy arguing with her seemed a bit younger, about the same age as Tang San and Xiao Wu. He was not tall, and though he looked chubby, he gave off a sturdy feeling. With short hair, small eyes, and chubby cheeks, he had a somewhat cute appearance. The most amusing thing was that there were two little mustaches on his lips, which seemed to have just grown out after puberty, looking like two mouse whiskers no matter how you looked at them. The girl, named Suehua, looked at the chubby boy with a hint of fear in her eyes. Ma Hongjun, don't look for me anymore in the future. I won't be with you. The chubby boy, Ma Hongjun, said in a strange tone, Suehua, haven't I been good to you? Why do you want to break up with me? Tang San and Xiao Wu exchanged glances, both seeing the amusement in each other's eyes. These kids nowadays start talking about breaking up at such a young age. The two couldn't help but stop and watch with interest. Cuihua's face suddenly turned red. You've been good to me, but I just can't stand you. We're not suitable. You should find someone else. Besides, I'm several years older than you. Please, don't look for me again in the future. Ma Hongjun angrily said, What do you mean you can't stand me? I really don't understand what you girls are thinking. Fine, if you want to break up, break up. If you want to be with me again, we'll break up. Otherwise, forget it. As he spoke, Ma Hongjun reached out to grab Cuihua's hand. Cuihua retreated like a startled little rabbit, but Ma Hongjun's speed was fast, and he still caught her hand. Cuihua pleaded, No, please stop. Just let me go. Are you even human? Xiao Wu couldn't bear to watch any longer and stepped forward. Stop it. Ma Hongjun and Cuihua both looked at her. The chubby boy blinked his small eyes, his lips twitching with the whiskers. Such a beautiful girl. What, do you want to be my girlfriend instead of her? All right, no problem. I agree. Bullshit. Xiao Wu was furious. She kicked towards the hand that Ma Hongjun was holding onto Cuihua, pushing it away. You little hooligan. You haven't learned anything at such a young age. Do you really want to snatch a girl in broad daylight? Hearing Xiao Wu's words, Ma Hongjun's face immediately darkened. This is our business, you nosy brat. If you don't want to be my woman, then get lost. You. Xiao Wu was about to act when Tang San appeared in front of her. You're called Ma Hongjun, right? Please don't provoke this young lady anymore. After yesterday's lesson, Tang San didn't want Xiao Wu to act recklessly. Besides, he vaguely sensed that the chubby boy in front of him wasn't simple. Ma Hongjun sneered disdainfully. Who do you think you are? You dare to meddle in my affairs? Looking for trouble, huh? Tang San's face turned cold. Who am I? Just someone who won't let you insult others. Ma Hongjun twirled his whiskers. Whoever interferes, I'll treat them as troublemakers. Tang San made his move. No matter how good his temper was, he couldn't let someone insult him like this. He used Ghost Shadow Perplexing Track, aiming a kick at Ma Hongjun's chest. The force behind this kick was restrained but cleverly controlled. If Ma Hongjun was just an ordinary person, he would at most fall over from the kick. But if he had any special abilities, then the force behind Tang San's kick could erupt at any time. Sure enough, as Tang San had guessed, Ma Hongjun wasn't simple. Seeing Tang San's kick coming, he didn't hesitate to meet it head-on, raising his fists in front of him to block Tang San's foot. A faint purple light flashed on his body, clearly a sign of soul power fluctuations. Tang San's kicked foot suddenly paused in mid-air, changing from a kick to a step, aiming for Ma Hongjun's abdomen. Ma Hongjun reacted quickly too. He brought down his fists at the same time, smashing towards Tang San's foot. With a muffled bang, Tang San retracted his foot and stepped back, while the chubby boy was also kicked back a few steps. It turned out they were evenly matched. The chubby boy's soul power seemed to be just slightly inferior to Tang San's. The chubby boy paused for a moment. So, you're also a soul master. No wonder you dare to meddle in my affairs. Let me show you what real strength is. As he spoke, the chubby boy shouted, Phoenix possession. Upon hearing the word Phoenix, Tang San and Xiao Wu both shivered. Among beast martial souls, there were several exceptionally powerful ones, and one of them was the Phoenix. Also known as the seven-colored bird, the Phoenix martial soul not only granted its host the ability to fly, but also bestowed powerful fire attribute attacks, making it a top-grade martial soul for combat. A purplish-red light surged from the chubby boy's body. His short hair suddenly lengthened and gathered towards the center, forming a mohawk-style hairstyle. Although no wings appeared, as soon as the purplish-red light emanated from his body, it immediately released intense heat. 2 yellow soul rings rose from under his feet simultaneously, and long feathers extended from his exposed muscular arms. Even his hands turned into claw-like shapes. Seeing his appearance, Xiao Wu couldn't help but chuckle. Is there such a thing as a fat phoenix? He looks more like a barnyard chicken to me. Indeed, the chubby boy's current appearance was somewhat comical. His round body, arms covered in long purplish-red feathers, and the upright hair, if he were to be called a phoenix, few would believe it. He looked more like a plump hen. As if his pride had been wounded, Ma Hongjun angrily retorted, Who are you calling a barnyard chicken? He raised his hands, and the first soul ring on his body suddenly lit up. Opening his mouth wide, a thin purplish-red flame spewed towards Xiao Wu. The high temperature distorted the air, but the purplish flame didn't seem very violent as it shot out like an elongated flame line in the air. Be careful. With a wave of his right hand, Tang San swiftly wrapped a blue vine around Xiao Wu's slender waist, pulling her sideways towards him to dodge Ma Hongjun's flame. But Ma Hongjun clearly didn't intend to let them off easily. The flame he spat out continued to burn within a 5-meter range and chased after Xiao Wu's body, forming a 5-meter-long flame weapon. Tang San grabbed Xiao Wu's hand and swiftly retreated, while several blue-silver grass vines extended rapidly along the ground. Through brief observation, he had already discovered that although Ma Hongjun's flame had a very high temperature, it had a limitation. Its attack range was only 5 meters. As long as they restricted his movement, dealing with him wouldn't be difficult. Sure enough, just as Ma Hongjun was about to pursue, he suddenly felt his legs stiffen, and his legs were tightly entangled by the blue-silver grass, causing a sharp pain followed by numbness. Ma Hongjun was surprised. Lowering his head, he saw the blue-silver grass entwining around him. Without hesitation, he activated his second soul ring skill. With a bang, intense purple flames suddenly ignited from his body. Ma Hongjun's large body instantly burst from within, spreading outward in an instant. As the blue-silver grass entwined around him came into contact with the purple flames, they immediately burned violently, turning into ashes in the blink of an eye. Seeing this scene, Tang San couldn't help but be astonished. He clearly felt that Ma Hongjun's martial soul seemed to be the nemesis of his own martial soul. Although blue-silver grass became extremely tough under the influence of the 2 soul rings, as a plant, it was still extremely afraid of fire, at least for now. With his entire body burning with purple flames, Ma Hongjun appeared even more imposing. Rage flared in his eyes as he took big strides towards Tang San and Xiao Wu's direction, flames spewing from his mouth like a god of fire descending to the mortal world. I'll handle this. With a flick of his hand, Tang San had already retrieved the 24 bridges and the bright moon. There was no suspense in this battle anymore, even without using hidden weapons. Sure enough, Xiao Wu didn't give Ma Hongjun any chance to react. With a swift turn, she was already behind him. Propping herself up with her hands, she swung her legs up and clamped them around Ma Hongjun's neck, activating her first soul ring skill, waist bow. Xiao Wu's entire body resembled a curved bow, with the light of her first soul ring instantly covering her entire body. Then, like a bowstring suddenly exerting force, her body swung Ma Hongjun's body out forcefully. Effect of the waist bow soul skill instantly enhances one's waist strength by 100%, and increases body flexibility by 50%. After reaching rank 10 in soul power, for each additional rank, the amplification effect of waist bow increases by 1%. In other words, now that Xiao Wu had activated waist bow, she could amplify her waist strength by 119%. The explosive elasticity was enough to throw out any opponent below rank 50 in soul power who wasn't of the strength type. Of course, as effective as waist bow was, it required close proximity to the enemy to be effective. Otherwise, having strong waist strength alone wouldn't be of much use. It was hard to imagine how Xiao Wu's slender waist, not even as thick as Ma Hongjuan's thighs, could produce such a huge force. Considering that Ma Hongjun had restrained his own flames, Xiao Wu also showed mercy. Instead of slamming Ma Hongjuan's body directly onto the ground, she swung him towards the air, giving him some control over his body. However, she had clearly overestimated Ma Hongjuan's control over his own body. The chubby boy rolled and tumbled in the air several times before finally falling flat on the ground in a mess. Stop it, don't fight anymore, suddenly spoke Tsuehua, who had rushed over to Ma Hongjuan's side. The flames on Ma Hongjuan's body seemed to be extinguished as he struggled to get up from the ground. Tsuehua patted the dirt off Ma Hongjuan's body, asking, "Are you okay?" Ma Hongjun grunted, "I'm not dead yet. Bunny girl, come at me again." Xiao Wu suddenly jumped in place, and with a swoosh, she flung her shoes off her feet. Although her soul power resisted most of the effects of Ma Hongjuan's second soul skill, Bathing Fire Phoenix, her shoes still got contaminated with the purple flames. To Xiao Wu's surprise, the purple flames actually felt sticky, and they didn't extinguish upon contact. With no other choice, she had to fling her shoes away, standing barefoot with her fair, delicate feet on the ground. Tsuehua, what's going on?" Xiao Wu looked at Tsuehua with confusion as she showed concern for Ma Hongjun. Previously, wasn't this chubby boy bullying her? Why did it seem like things had changed now? Tsuehua pleaded, please stop fighting. Actually, Hongjun is a good person. It's just that we're not compatible. So, I can only break up with him. You two go ahead, I'll talk to him." Ma Hongjun snorted, don't mind my business, get lost." Saying this, he pushed Tsuehua aside and prepared to charge at Xiao Wu again, but he hesitated, fearing he might hurt Tsuehua, so he didn't use his second soul skill again. At that moment, a surprised voice rang out, Tang-san, fatty, what are you doing?" Tang-san and Ma Hongjun both turned to look at the direction of the voice, seeing a figure in white clothes with neatly combed hair walking towards them. It was Dai Mubai. Xiao Wu snorted, what's going on?" "Ask him." This fatty was bullying girls openly, and we couldn't just stand by and watch, so we decided to teach him a lesson. Dai Mubai's stern face couldn't help but twitch into a smile. "Xiao Wu, it seems you've misunderstood. Tsuehua, can't you stand him either?" Tsuehua blushed and nodded, then turned and ran away. This time, Ma Hongjun didn't try to stop her, wearing a look of dejection. Tang-san walked up to Dai Mubai's side, asking in confusion, what's going on exactly?" Dai Mubai looked at Ma Hongjun and said, you tell them, or should I?" Ma Hongjun glanced at Dai Mubai and mumbled, you do it." Dai Mubai chuckled, what? The fatty's feeling shy now? Fine, I'll do it for you. Turning to Tang-san and Xiao Wu, he said, remember when I told you there were only 3 students in the academy, including myself? Well, the fatty here is the 3rd one. He was the latest to join the academy before you guys. Although I didn't witness what happened just now, I can guess. Actually, it's not entirely the fatty's fault. Blame it on his weird martial soul. Bullshit. Your martial soul is the weird one, mine is the phoenix. Even if everyone in my village had chicken martial souls, mine is a phoenix. Haven't you heard of a golden phoenix in a grass nest?
Ma Hongjun retorted irritably.
Dai Mubai's smile didn't fade from his face. A phoenix, huh? Alright, let's call it a phoenix then. Tang-san, the fatty's martial soul is quite peculiar. The dean said his martial soul is a mutated one. A mutated martial soul? What kind of mutation occurred between which 2 martial souls? Tang-san inquired. He had heard a lot about mutated martial souls from Grandmaster. Once a martial soul mutated, there were only 2 possibilities. It either became extremely powerful or weakened. Grandmaster himself had suffered from the pain of a martial soul mutation. And the martial soul of Ma Hongjun in front of him clearly belonged to the benign mutation type. Dai Mubai said, It's not just me, I'm afraid even Ma Hongjun himself isn't clear about it. In their village, almost everyone's martial soul is a non-combatant poultry type. Somehow, when it came to him, his martial soul mutated and inherently gained the ability of fire. He didn't join the academy on his own. 3 years ago, the dean found him in their village and brought him back. He should be about the same age as you guys. Due to the mutation of his martial soul, the fatty has gained a very strong fire ability. This fire is extremely peculiar, not only with extremely high temperatures, but also possessing strong adhesion, making it difficult to extinguish. The dean said that after his martial soul mutated, he really could become a phoenix. However, his martial soul also has a major flaw. Although the mutation brought about powerful soul power, it also had a certain impact on his body. This made his abilities in the aspect of men and women extremely strong, and his sexual desires are 10 times that of an ordinary person. If not properly controlled and guided, there is always the possibility of being overwhelmed by this evil fire and dying in an explosive burst. Ma Hongjun hastily added, Once the evil fire flares up, it can't be suppressed.